This video is going to contain matters of rape, sexual assault, abortion, and themes of those things. And it's about this book, Francine Rivers, The Atonement Child, right? I'm on page 426, and there's about 470 in pages, right? 570 in pages. I'm almost done, right? And this book, right, is about, in one horrific, terrifying moment, Dana Carey's perfect life is shattered by rape. Her future is irrevocably altered by an unwanted pregnancy, and her doting family is torn apart. Her seemingly rock-solid faith is pushed to the limits as she faces the most monumentous choice of her life, to embrace or to end the life within her. And I chose, my sanitizer's over here. I chose to read this book because I've been sexually assaulted, and I also lost a child due to me being me unknowingly taking pills that caused me to end the life of my child that was conceived through rape. So this book, I thought, would help me deal with some things, and to also see a perspective from a Christian standpoint, because I don't know about you guys, but I've mostly seen arguments as well as the feminist movement. So I wanted to read it because I thought it would help me heal myself too. Dang, what if my phone fell? Anyway, so this book is great so far, by the way. But a couple of my thoughts was, after she was assaulted, people that would engage with her felt like she should hide, or they felt like she would be embarrassed by being raped. But it's like, and I remember that I used to have that too, where it's like you feel like you should hide it, but that's the only way. Like, hiding doesn't help you heal it, and hiding the truth just continues the stigma and the secrecy of something that wasn't wanted in terms of sexual assault. And then why should she be embarrassed when the perpetrator should be the one that should be embarrassed and should feel the need to hide? That's what they literally do. Like, they try to cause a culture of secrecy and embarrassment, and this is how stuff like my story, whereas I was sexually assaulted and inside of an incestuous family, as well as they did ritualistic sexual assault things, and sex trade. So the only way those things exist and continue to exist is if people are hiding it, either the victim or the people around them, and then they also feel like they should be embarrassed, like, oops, it's my fault. Like, no, like, it's not really your fault. You shouldn't be embarrassed by that, is what I'm saying. Or, oh yeah, and then I thought that the author did a very good job of having the conversation of, after her assault happened, thinking, oh, I should have did this, oh, I should have called this person, oh, I should have walked this way, or I should have did that, this or that, or the other. I think that the book talks about how those thoughts happen, and it's hard to process it because you internalize it as, it's my fault, I should have did this. I mean, in her case, she was assaulted by somebody that she didn't know, as far as I know, because I haven't finished the book. And mine was by people that I knew and didn't know. So I think the feeling in general is the same. You're always going to be like, maybe I should have worn less more clothes. Maybe I should have not walked that way or walked this direction, or I should have went this street or should have called somebody. Because in this book, she was walking home and this guy assaulted her in the park. Um, oh my goodness, yes. I said one of my questions was, why does she have to stop to make other people comfortable? And this is a problem that I've had a lot. People will ask me in the past stuff that I've been through. I would tell them, and I tell people, hey, like, it's not really like, I'm not uncomfortable to tell my story, but I'm aware that a lot of people are unable to have the conversation because they have unresolved issues, or they know somebody else that has been assaulted or has an incestuous family, and they just feel a lot of shame and guilt and uncomfortable with the conversation. And in the book, people wanted to engage and ask her what happened, but when she tried to engage, it seemed like she had to stop so they could be comfortable, instead of her just being able to express how she felt and what happened to her and relaying the details of her situation. And that's also another reason why I feel like God has me do this. I mean, because it's not my responsibility to make you comfortable about my life story. Just like it's not her responsibility to make her boyfriend at that time or her friends or her family comfortable about how she was assaulted. This is also why therapy is very important, especially sexual trauma therapy, because they'll be able to talk to you about it and they will not flinch and they will be able to have the conversation. Excuse me. Anyway. Oh, and then she quit her job, right? She quit her job in the book. And then her employer was like, well, now I have to get another person. My problem is, a lot of places, she quit her job because she didn't feel safe working at her job. Because, again, she was followed after she got, from her job, right? And I gotta say this, because I've encountered this a lot. Don't own a business if you don't want to work at your business. I know this isn't like in the book. The lady, she quits her job. The lady basically blames her for quitting her job and her, as the business owner, having to work there. Don't ever start a business if you're not willing to work at your business. If you want employees to work at your business and you not to be there, then or you're unwilling to make up for the fact that people call out, then don't own a business. It's just that simple. Because, yeah, she didn't tell the business owner what happened, but it's like the person blamed her for quitting and having to work. And I was like, I don't like that. I don't like that. Oh, and on the same theme, the note says, you're not being kind by treating people kindly because they benefit you. So, for example, her employer was kind to her when she could use her to do the job, but once she was unable to work, the business owner got nasty with her. And a lot of people do this. They think that they're being kind because they're reaping the benefits of the person, but once that person is not beneficial to them anymore, then they don't want to engage, or they're mad at you or angry at you. That's not real kindness. That's nice. Nice is not the goal. Kind is the goal. Jesus was kind. I used to do this, actually. In the past, I used to think that I don't know. I just felt like people were expendable, but that's because I was taught that I was expendable. So, for example, let me see. Like, I don't do this, okay? Like, I would have friends. Well, people I thought were my friends, but I was really just making friends with them because there was something I wanted, not because I wanted them to be my friend. Maybe, oh, that person makes me look good, or oh, that person, I could potentially date this person, or I could date their friend, and then I would make them my friend to then have them somehow give me some type of benefit. That's not real friendship. I was not a real friend, and I was using people to get my what I wanted. And then if I didn't get what I wanted, maybe discarding them or placing them at a lower priority because they weren't beneficial to me anymore, which is bad, not kind, not gifts of the Spirit. Well, the nature of the Holy Spirit. Anyway, oh yeah, in the book, after the assault happened, nobody asked her how she wanted to handle the situation. After she got assaulted, people were like, oh, you should do this. Oh, do you want to talk to the police? Oh, let me handle this. Let me talk to this person for you. Why don't you guys just stop talking? Even I was like, stop talking. Ask her how she feels. Let her process her stuff before you guys engage for her. And that was just what everybody was doing the entire book. Well, so that far that I've read. I was just like, can you guys just back off a little bit? And then when she got pregnant, everybody was like, oh, you should have an abortion. Oh, you should do this. Oh, you should do that. Oh, you did. I'm just like, ugh, be quiet. And I remember that too. Like nobody ever asked me how I felt about being assaulted or how I wanted to deal with it. They just wanted to process their feelings and not actually hear my opinions or thoughts or feelings. That's also how they treat homeless people too. I just want to say that. So I know they don't really care about your story sometimes. They just want to be like, this is what you do to fix it. And they wrong a lot of the time. Just like in this book, they was wrong a lot of the time. Anyway, also, yeah, sexual assault turns people into liars. It is very true because people will lie that they haven't been assaulted. They'll lie for the perpetrator sometimes, depending on who it is. It can turn people into liars. Her boyfriend, absolutely not a 10 out of 10. He's probably like a -0. He's under 0. Her boyfriend treated her as if she was the foul and wanted to know more about her sexual history than about her emotional health, which is true. Sometimes people feel as if people that have been sexually assaulted, as if they are walking STDs. Sometimes they will treat you as if you are infected. Yeah, he personally, after a while, was like, they checked you for HIV. And I was like, oh. Basically, he was her fiance, but he wanted to know that she was clean, health-wise, more than he wanted to know and conversate about how she felt. I also think some men equate women's virginity to their worth. He definitely treated her as if all of her value to their future marriage would be her vaginal health. And I think he thought of her less after that happened as a person and as a attainable wife. That is a real thing. That's pretty bad for everybody, men or women. I understand that we are called to be virgins when we get married, but the truth is a lot of people aren't virgins when they get married. And a lot of women and men have been sexually assaulted And just because they have been doesn't mean they're worth less in terms of God or marriage. And, excuse me, I'm sorry. Um, yeah, that's just not okay. Like a man, and even if you had sex before marriage, there can still be a recommittal to be chastised for the sake of the kingdom and the sake of your marriage, because it's a sacred thing. But when you still have your innocence taken in a wrong way, there's there's a lot of emotional and physical and psychological and spiritual things that happen, and there's a lot of healing needed for that. So even before trying to be intimate in marriage. So I didn't like that at all. Um, yeah. There was a mention of docile versus meekness in the book, and um, being a the Bible calls us to be meek. It does not call for us to be docile. And I don't like these Christian movies that make us seem like we have like I'm a Christian. Like, where does that come from? Like, we're not meant to be pushovers. I don't know if you guys realize this, but a lot of people in the Bible, like Moses killed a guy and then he led the Israelites. He could have killed all the Israelites. He could have just been like, shwa, shwa, y'all get on my nerves and y'all don't listen. And he didn't do that. That's meekness under control. That's power under control. Under control. That's power under, like, strength in control. That's what God calls us to be. He doesn't call us to be docile. And I don't know where this thought comes in that Christians are supposed to be docile. And docile also means quiet, easy to influence, and submissive to control or guidance. I don't like that. That's not what God called me to. He called me to be meek. And meek, by the way, is literally defined as someone who is quiet, gentle, and submissive. Think about how Jesus acted. Did you see Jesus being easily led by Satan or by other people? No, you saw him literally being quiet, gentle, and submissive. He had power as a God, and then he was also gentle and submissive to the Trinity. So where does docile come in? I can't stand it in Christian movies where we're like doormats, where it's just like, yeah, they did me wrong, but I'll still be best friends with them. I just love them. Like, no, like we're not just forgiving and just continuing to be used by the same people. I don't know who told Christians or movies that this is what we're doing. That's not what we're doing. That's not what we're called to be. Anyway, excuse me. Get it riled up. Someone just looked at me like, shh. Anyway, um, physical touch does change sometimes, because I noticed that you'll either be like, don't touch me, or you'll be like, touch me. Like, some people get hypersexual or they get extremely afraid. And when I had DID, I was more afraid or very violent. So, and in her stance, she accepted physical touch, but only from certain people. So I think in general that when you're hugging people, you should be considerate that maybe they don't want a hug. I grew up in a generation where your parents let everybody hug you and you were forced to hug. I was forced to hug people I did not want to hug, and that's not cool for a girl or a guy. Like, don't touch people without asking, and be considerate. I think also because of the assault she felt like it seemed like she wanted tenderness from other people, like her fiance in the beginning stages. She was fine with him touching her and like the tenderness of him, but she also was scared that she couldn't trust it, or that or just scared of it. That's just reality. Like you're gonna be sometimes you're gonna have moments where you're like, I want a hug, I want affection, but I'm afraid because I don't know what you think versus what I feel. And a lot of times when I had DID, um, I think I had very, I had very low senses of what people desired. I'm thinking, oh, I want to hold this person's hand, and this person thinking something completely different. And that's how sometimes these situations happen. You don't really know where people's lines are, and you don't know their thoughts until sometimes you get in the atmosphere of them, and then you find out. But I think I think really sometimes some of these things have to be after marriage, or a limit and clear boundaries. But yeah, um, there's also points where I think you have to realize that before you're assaulted, there's gonna be a readjustment after it happens, because there's a realization of, oh, people really hurt people and they don't care, or they care, or they don't care and they pretend they care, and then you're confused. Excuse me, because I had both of those. And I think it's a real thing that you can have your innocence taken by a person while still maintaining a innocent posture. And I'll leave it at that, because you just do. Sometimes you still have that childlike nature, because that's what God called us to. Ooh, man, this book had a lot of one-liners that I was like, ooh, I would never have any. No one has ever said that to me, and I'm surprised they said it. And I was like, ooh. Anyway, like her fiance was like, I said, don't take it out on me, I didn't rape you. He says after she's insulted by him asking about if she has HIV or not. And he said it like, why would you ever say that to anybody? Like, but yeah, she said she got insulted by him asking if she had HIV, because he really asked it in an offhand way. And then instead of being like, yeah, I can understand why that would offend you, or why you're not asking about my mental health but only asking about my vaginal health, he was like, don't take it on me, I didn't rape you. I was like, dang, that's insensitive and very like rude. I think we all understand why that's awful. Anyway. Oh, and he also said, he had, again, lots of despicable, great one-liners. He said, how am I supposed to be a father to something so despicable? When she got pregnant, well, when she found out she was pregnant. And he said, how could he be a father to something so despicable? And then I was thinking, why do people keep equating, I said, why, keeping the baby does not equate, excuse me. I said, keeping the baby does not equate saying you wanted how the conception happened. Because for me, my baby would have been conceived through rape too. But if it lived and I was able to keep it, why would that be the baby's fault? The baby had nothing to do with how it got here, and you also technically don't have anything to do with how it got there either because it's rape. So why would the baby be despicable? It's a baby. Anyway, again, why was the way you conceived, the ways you were conceived doesn't equate worth? Because my baby in heaven, um, my uncle raped me. How is it my fault that my baby was conceived through rape, and then my uncle like groomed my brain to think that that was cool to get a 11-year-old pregnant or 10-year-old? Because no, pretty sure I was 11. But anyway, again, my baby would still be worthwhile because she's in heaven. She's a child of God. She was born from Christ. Just because a child is born from parents, if you guys are fine with people having babies that are in worse, that are in, I don't know, poverty, drug addicts, alcoholism, we're fine with them being put in this world with all types of imperfect people, but then when they're made by an imperfect person who assaults another person, somehow that's the baby's fault. That don't make sense. And if you look at all these pro-life ones, like Students for Life, they have conversations of people that were conceived by rape, as well as the children that were conceived by rape. And they're awesome. Like, they're still imperfect because they're a person, but the way that they were born didn't change anything as them as people. Just because their father or even their mother was abusive doesn't mean anything about the baby. Because also, in my case, because I was groomed, I probably would have had dealings with the man that sexually assaulted me multiple times after I had the baby, if the baby lived. So, in my case, the groomer either would have been there and did things to both of me and the baby's mind, or they would have tried to kill me, which is also higher probability because they killed my child. So, and then in her case, a lot of people that have babies out of with where the rapist is the conception is conceived through rape, a lot of those people don't continue the relationship with that person because that's not how it works. So they're not there. I don't think people realize that part for some reason. A lot of the stories that I've heard where children were conceived through rape, the other person's not there. I haven't seen one story where that's been a factor, but every scenario is different. All I'm saying is that the babies matter. It's not their fault, and it's not the mother's fault that the child was conceived through rape. It doesn't change the worth of the baby, and it doesn't change the worth of the mother. And the child shouldn't feel ashamed, the mother shouldn't feel ashamed, but the person that did the things that they weren't supposed to be doing should ask for forgiveness. That's all. Anyway. Oh yeah, nobody's dirty. Stop telling people they dirty because they had a sexual encounter or sexual assault and they're like dirty now. Not dirty. I'm not dirty. You not dirty. Nobody's dirty. Sin is dirty. Going to hell is dirty. Demons are dirty. Dirt. Actually, dirt. My point is, dirt can be cleaned. No, but seriously, yeah, that's a lie. That's a lie from Satan. That's a lie from hell. That's a lie to keep you trapped in the same circle and to feel less than for something that is nothing to do with you. Don't listen to that. Oh. Oh, so in the book she was like, the girl was like, "Are you really so cruel and arbitrary, inflicting wounds and then healing for what? Why?" So the thing is, sexual assault, and I don't understand why people don't understand this about the Bible. The Bible is talking about all the things in the world and showing you how to deal with those things. People got raped in the Bible. God did not create rape. God doesn't justify rape. There's no justification for rape. The fact is, we live in a world that does not care because they're not submitted to God. And this is the reality is God does not overstep free will because he gave us free will. That means that I'm gonna use myself for an example. Before I was born, Jesus Christ, God the Father, knew everything that was going to happen in my life while it was happening and before it happened and while it happens, because he is in space. He is time, he is space, he's the beginning, he's the end, he's present, he's omnipresent, and he's aware that what was going to happen to me when I was born into the family would happen. He did not stop free will for my father and his siblings and the people he allowed to assault me, because those people have free will. They could have said, "Hey, maybe that child is not cute. Maybe I could, I don't know, read a book or follow the Bible or ask to not be a pedophile." But they didn't do that. Instead, they took me aside and they assaulted me. And God knew that they would do that. And he met me in that. He saved me in that. And he saved me from getting out of that and healing from that. But people feel as if God is not a sovereign God because he allows things to happen. But the truth is, it's not his fault because they have free will. And he gives us will to choose what we're going to do in response to those things. And the inflicting of wounds part, like, people are cruel. That's them. That's their choice. And then the inflicting wounds part, again, people have the will to do what they want to do. And a lot of times it's generational curses, it's demons, it's deities, it's demonic altars, it's witchcraft in my circumstance. And then, because they could have chose to heal and they chose not to. But I could have also been like, "I'm going to fight everybody. I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that." And I didn't. And God will watch us be broken apart and meet us there and stand there with us to help us heal. God will allow us and see us do these things to be able to help other people, to grow us, to develop us, to help us be a witness to other people of the stuff we've been through, so that they can see it's feasible to go through it and maintain God and maintain a morality and a faith in him and a faith through all the things that the world puts us through. That's why they cruel. That's why there's arbitrary afflicted wounds. That's what, and that's why. I hope that answers. Also, when I read that, I heard God literally say, "I didn't start the war, but I finished it." And I was like, "Oh, cold line." But seriously though, the devil chooses to be evil, and he chooses to have to partner up with people and cause chaos in the world. And God is a sovereign God. Whether my family goes to jail here on earth, whether they face whatever they face here, they're ultimately going to face Father God. They're going to face Jesus Christ. They're going to face the Holy Spirit. And they're going to be judged. That's just the reality. Everyone that thinks they're getting off scot-free, God is going to take over. And his will's going to be done. I also think it's very necessary to say that whether you've been through pregnancy, whether you're going through pregnancy, or whether you've had an abortion, or you had a instance like mine where I was forced to take a pill that I didn't know was an abortion pill, and I needed therapy. We all need therapy through transitions of life, and when you're creating a life, you definitely need some help with that. You need therapy. That's just reality. I also think it's necessary to consider the stuff that you're doing before marriage, because those things do affect you, men and women. There's women that have been virgins and their husbands weren't. There's women that have been that weren't virgins and their husbands were. All of those things affect marriage. And you also create demonic covenants when you have sex with people outside of marriage, and you create strongholds and soul ties with people that aren't your spouse. So not only are you dealing with generational things and covenants that your family may have taken or you may have taken by being with your family, but you're also having soul ties and demonic covenants with people that you weren't supposed to be sleeping with. And they're giving and they're taking away from you guys. And then when you get into a covenant, then that also affects your marriage and your relationship. I'll take relationship away in your marriage. So think about that. I think in the book as well, her mother had an abortion, and every waking second that her mother is in the book, I understand why she's that way, but oh my goodness. Everything that anyone says to her mother immediately offends her because she's unhealed, and all she does is insult everybody else because she's unhealed. Everything her husband says, she's like, he's getting at me. And then everything she said is getting at him or at somebody else. And I'm like, how have you guys tolerated this long? Because why? I was exhausted. Because when you are unhealed and you haven't dealt with your pain and your past, and you think that God doesn't forgive you, all you do is view everything from everything you've done. And then you feel like people are attacking you for everything you've done. And it's like, no, just trying to talk to you, and you need to pray. Because I was just like, shh, she needs deliverance. She needs prayer. No, seriously though, she needs prayer. And she needs help to understand that really that God does, like, God forgives you, but you have to forgive yourself. And if you don't forgive yourself, you're not going to think that God forgives you either. And all she does the entire book so far is just tell her daughter that she needs to kill her baby and that her husband hates her. And she just hates herself. That's just reality. Do you really think that God forgives you? Because that's also the theme of a lot of her mother's pain. She doesn't think that God forgives her for having an abortion. And she thinks that God is punishing her by having her daughter be sexually assaulted. Which again, God didn't do that. And two, God actually does forgive. It would pretty much negate the fact of him dying on the cross if he didn't really want to forgive your sins. And not only that, oh yeah, oh yeah, but no, sorry, I said this wrong. It says she was saying that she thinks bad things happen because God is punishing her for her sins. But again, it's like people just do stuff. Spirits do stuff. That's what they do. They're unhappy unless they're causing chaos. So it really would have been a waste of time if that was true for Jesus to die on the cross, if he was still going to punish you by letting chaos happen that he didn't cause to punish you for the sins he died for. So it doesn't make sense. God is not punishing you because you sinned, because he died on the cross for your sins. So why would he allow the devil to bother you to then punish you for the sins that he died for? I just explained that twice, but I hope that made sense to you guys. Anyway, so two generations, right? Both, the grandma. Also, I love the fact that there's 3 generations in this book, and I like that it was written from multiple perspectives. That's like one of my favorite things to read, and it's even better that it's a Christian book. Yeah. So her grandma committed, had an abortion, and then her daughter had an abortion. Grandma knew the daughter had an abortion. Nobody knew grandma had an abortion, but the grandma is probably the only one that was like, yeah, don't do that because I did it and it was awful and I regretted it. But the daughter's like, no, you gotta do this so your life will be better, while simultaneously harboring guilt, shame, resentment for everybody in her life from having an abortion. And it's like, do you not see the giant blinking light of maybe don't do that because you're suffering? But people just don't see that sometimes because they just want to fix it, but they can't see the issues that they're causing and ignoring. So, yeah. Oh, yeah. And then her dad said who would want her after she had the baby. So, that's not nice. Somebody would. I think the guy that's in the book who's named Joey, I'm pretty sure he definitely loves her. She just doesn't see it yet. I was rooting for Joey. Joey sounds cool. Joey's the guy that has been the voice of reason so far, as well as her grandmother. We like Joey so far. They're probably going to get married, or he's at least going to help her with the child. I don't know yet, but that's my guess. I'll update. Who would think of her like that? Who would think of her like that? I don't even know what my note is talking about. I think it's the fact of, oh yeah, okay, so the dad didn't understand why somebody would sexually assault her, but the truth is, it really doesn't matter what she looks like or how she dressed or what she was doing. They just seek out whoever is innocent. That's literally just how sexual, like, predators work. They go after what's accessible. That's just the reality. But he's only viewing his daughter from the view of a dad, which I had appreciation for because I didn't get that, but it's just the reality. Like, she's a young girl that was walking home, and he had access, so he took access. It's unfortunate, but it's the reality. We live in a fallen world. Um, these are my thoughts so far about the book. I enjoy it, the release so far. I'm excited to read the last couple pages, and I will update as soon as I can. God bless.